Ukraine forces say not to reverse the Russian pressure. Russia is steadily amassing its largest military presence in years near the Ukrainian border on land and at sea as the Kremlin tests Western support for Kyiv in its battles against pro-Moscow separatists less than 3 months into the Biden administration. Russia's motivations for the buildup are still unclear and do not necessarily signal a looming offensive, Ukrainian and Western officials said. But moving forces from as far away as Siberia, more than 2,000 miles distance to near Ukraine and onto the Crimean Peninsula, has injected new levels of alarm in a region that has been a flashpoint between the West and Moscow since 2014. In March that year, Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine, prompting international condemnation and sanctions. The following month, war broke out in the eastern Ukrainian region of Donbas between Russian-allied separatists and Ukraine's military. More than 13,000 people have been killed in the fighting since then, according to the United Nations. The last bout of large-scale combat was more than 4 years ago, but there have been periodic exchanges of artillery fire along a front line that has barely budged. Russia's sudden military surge appears to be more about sending messages than launching a fresh offensive, analysts said. For Russian President Vladimir Putin, Ukraine's warm relations with the United States and Europe are a challenge to Moscow's influence in the region, especially as Biden has vowed to take a harder line with the Kremlin. Ukraine's aspirations of joining NATO are also seen by Russia as a potential threat on its doorstep. Some of the Russian military moves have a long-term feel. Russian troops and military hardware are at a recently constructed camp near Voronezh, about 155 miles from the Ukrainian border, according to the Moscow-based conflict intelligence team, which monitors Russia's military and security services. Russia also is relocating the 56th Guards Air Assault Brigade to Feodosia in Crimea. Russia is testing everyone's nerves and declaring its position. It should remain an important player for other countries, both the United States and Ukraine, said Ruslan Lviv, an analyst with the conflict intelligence team. They are trying to show that Russia will not tolerate any sanctions or other actions put in place to pressure them to return Crimea to Ukraine or to change the course of things in Donbas, he added. The Russian military began the shift about a month ago, Lviv said. At first, the redeployment was thought to be part of planned exercises. But when the maneuvers ended in late March, the military array stayed. Tanks have crossed the bridge connecting Russia and Crimea. Trains carrying military hardware from northern Russian regions have made multiple trips, Lviv said. Russia's Ministry of Defense has also said it is moving more than 10 naval vessels, including landing boats and artillery warships, from the Caspian Sea to the Black Sea, which lines Ukraine's coast, for exercises. And it has all happened in the open. In an April 2nd phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Biden pledged unwavering support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity in the face of Russia's ongoing aggression, according to the White House readout. On Thursday, Zelensky visited Ukrainian troops near the front lines. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg discussed the Russian military buildup near Ukraine and other issues on Monday before the top U.S. diplomat's trip to Brussels this week. Ukrainian Defense Minister Andriy Taran said Russia was trying to force Ukraine to cave in negotiations by ramping up its military presence on the border, but he declared that Ukraine would not let up fighting. The Russian military, meanwhile, said its scouts have trained for missions behind enemy lines during the latest drills in the Belgorod region that borders Ukraine. And in the Black Sea, the Russian Navy's missile boats have practiced striking enemy ships.